Now, let's look at mistake number 3, including indecipherable graphics in your content. Boy, have I seen some awful graphics while reading content in this industry over the years. Perhaps I created some awful graphics as well, but now I'm trying to be better. And I wanted to share what I have learned about avoiding common mistakes and about creating strong graphics that communicate and speak to your readers. So here are some examples that I came across. These are from real-world reports. I did not adjust these in any way. Here's one graphic. This is apparently a table that I extracted from a report. What do you think of this table? Does it look awesome? Does it look awful? When I look at it, I have no idea what it's trying to say. It appears to be stretched out. It is highly pixelated. And I don't know what I'm supposed to take away when I look at that table. That table is amazing because it fails in so many different ways. Here's another graphic that I found in a security report. What do you think about that one? Again, it's highly pixelated, unfortunately. I can read, I think, that it says something about port scan traffic rates, and I can see beautiful lines. But what does this visual pattern represent? What is its significance? It is quite possible that if you looked at this graphic in the context of the paper from which I extracted it, you might have enough information to interpret the meaning of this graphic. However, that would require work. It would require mental effort. And we're all busy. We're all tired. We're all impatient. And if you expect your readers to look at a graphic like this and take the time to figure out what it means, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Now, sometimes I've seen graphics that are completely meaningless, that I think the author of a given report placed into the report just so that it looks impressive. You know, maybe you have some reader who you think will not know fact from fiction, who will not know that you're presenting nonsense. Of course, in that case, I suppose it doesn't matter what you include in your report. But look, we're all trying to write strong, meaningful content. We all expect that our readers want to derive specific benefits from consuming what it is we're writing. We want to communicate certain meaningful ideas, and if you want to be taken seriously, you must take your readers seriously as well. And you must understand that your readers will look at a graphic like this, and they will have a hard time deriving meaning from it. Here's one more example that I wanted to show you. Take a look at this chart that I found in a security report. It looks pretty. If you look at it, I suppose, from far away and you squint your eyes, you see a pie that is broken up into several pie slices. But what is the meaning of these pie slices? Some of the details here are hard to see depending on your screen size. So let me tell you that we have some percentages that act as labels. There's a title of this chart that says distributions of packet types among port scan packets. Is that meaningful to you? Well, based on this title, we now know that this has something to do with port scan packets. It's related to networking or network security, perhaps. If you look closely at the label here, I'm not sure if you can see these details, but here we see indications that the labels refer to various flags that you would have set in TCP packets. There's a label that represents the SYN flag being set. There's a series of packets that might have SYN and FIN set. There's also a label that represents UDP, and so on and so forth. So these are various ways of describing the kinds of packets, both TCP and UDP, that you might find on a network. But what is the meaning of this chart? Well, clearly, some kind of traffic is more common than other types of traffic. So 74% for this traffic. What kind of traffic is this? And on my screen, this pattern has a light bluish color, and I think that corresponds to the SYN packets, I think, but I'm not certain. And that's the point. You see, as a reader, I have to spend a whole lot of time trying to reverse engineer the meaning of this graphic, and this is very confusing, and I'm not sure I'm succeeding with this. Another problem with this graphic is that, and I'm not sure if you can see it, some of the pie slices here represent 0%. Can you see it? These are 0%. How big are these slices? If they're 0, they probably don't have any area associated with them. So it's strange to see slices that are 0%. Or it's strange to know that they might be there, but they don't really exist. But does 0 exist? It brings up all sorts of philosophical questions that I'm not ready to pursue in the context of this presentation. So what do your readers want? What your readers want is to absorb a key idea behind your graphic at a single glance. That's what your readers want. You know they want it because you yourself are a reader. So how would you revise this graphic? That's one of the graphics I showed you on the previous screen. How would you revise it with your reader in mind? Here's one approach. Look at what I did here. A lot has changed. But it's the same data, just represented differently. First of all, I converted that pie chart into a bar chart. While there are scenarios where you can and should use pie charts, especially if talking about, let's say, apple pie or pizza pie, in most cases, there is a better way to represent your data. The reason for this is that humans have a much easier time judging the relative sizes of visual elements when the elements are represented by lines or by bars like this. You see here, it is very easy for me to notice at a quick glance that ACK reset packets, which are apparently 5%, are smaller than UDP, which is 8. I can very conveniently see that relationship when these lines or bars are next to each other. I can also see how much more prevalent these SYN packets are in comparison to the other packet types that this report is talking about. So yes, sometimes you can use pie charts, especially if you want your reader to recognize that all of the elements that you're discussing form a complete whole that matches to 100%, but in almost every case that I have seen, there's a better way of representing the data, and in this case, I believe a bar chart is more effective. Notice that here, I also brought the labels directly next to the elements that they correspond to, so that now I, as a reader, don't need to go elsewhere on the chart to try to map the data elements to their labels, and all of these details, including the percentages that correspond to the data that I'm visualizing here, are visible to me at a glance. However, you need to think beyond the visual elements of a chart like this. You need to assume that some readers will look at a chart like this no matter how well crafted it is, and they will still misunderstand it, or they might not understand it depending on their background. The audience for your content is diverse. You don't always know who will read that email, who will review that report, how technical are they. So therefore, you need to cater your content with the expectation that your readers will need sometimes some extra nudge towards the right conclusion when you represent your data. And therefore, I really encourage you to include informative titles or captions for your graphics, whether you're talking about screenshots or charts. Here, for example, I inserted a full sentence that summarizes the conclusion at which I want my reader to arrive when they look at this chart. I'm not sure if I can correctly derive the meaning from the original chart. It was quite hard to interpret, but I think the intent was something along these lines. The vast majority of the packets were TCP with only the SYN flag set. And I assigned a figure number to this chart so that I can refer to it more easily from the body of my text. So, to get the most out of your graphic, here's what I suggest. First, choose a graphic type that communicates your main point most effectively. Should it be a bar chart? Should it be a line graph? Should it be a table or a screenshot? Eliminate visual clutter and unnecessary formatting. As you saw in the example on the previous screen, I removed lines and other visual elements that did not contribute to the reader's understanding of the graphic's main point. Make sure that you assign an informative title or caption to your graphic for the reasons that I discussed earlier with you. And remember to refer to the graphic from the body of your text. Otherwise, your reader won't know how this visual element fits into the rest of your narrative.